All right, so I made the tragic mistake of reading comments on some of my old videos. Old videos, it's only 3 weeks ago. But I talked about the leveling system in Oblivion, and a lot of the top comments are talking about their issues with the leveling system. And I like that, I love that. And some of the common complaints I'm seeing are that the Oblivion leveling system, scaling, and progression system limit choice. People think it's not, it's anti-RPG. It punishes you for sticking to a build or an archetype, and that you're required to use magic, either exploits, or just like grind a skill or use a spreadsheet to be good at the game. And I kind of want to address each of these. So these are like an amalgamation of different claims that people have made. First, my concessions about the progression system. One, the scaling is heavy-handed. Goblin Warlords getting 30 health a level is annoying. And after level 32, it should stop. Like, it should just be done. And I wish no enemies should completely disappear. It makes the world feel less real, more like a video game. It takes away that immersion, that verisimilitude. No one likes that. The other one is, I've talked about this before, but some attributes could be governed by 4 skills. For example, to level strength, you have to hit something with a melee weapon. And I would be okay if there was one other option. You look at agility, and there's marksman and sneak, which is great. And you have security, which is a non-combat skill. So you have a completely non-combat skill that you can level to level the attribute. With intelligence, alchemy, mysticism, and conjuration, sure, some of them could be arguably combat, but you can do them with any build, really. Where other attributes, they're kind of not just more difficult to level with a particular build, but almost impossible. I think strength and endurance should be easier for a warrior to level. For example, if I'm hitting things with my weapon and blocking and wearing heavy armor and repairing my gear a lot because I keep taking hits, yep, warriors should be getting those +5s easier, where a mage might have a tougher time. But I don't think it should require a melee weapon swing. So strength and endurance, I think, aren't the best there. And physical damage is a bit low. Some people disagree with this, but I think if it got somewhere between a 20 and 40% buff across the board, the game would just be more enjoyable. But whatever. Those are my concessions. My counterpoints, I think Oblivion has way more viable build choice than the vast majority of RPGs. Skyrim, Diablo 2, whatever you're talking about, there is a ton of viable builds. So this limiting choices, I think you have a ton of choices in Oblivion. And as for it being anti-RPG, I think I've always argued you should use your major skills. You shouldn't only use your major skills and just power level them, because that will cause problems. I like that. I think power leveling is bad in these types of game. I think it hurts Morrowind, it hurts Skyrim. I think Oblivion doesn't really have, it does have some of that problem, but I think it is more limited because of its system. Also, a lot of people talk about, oh, I can't play a pure warrior. I can't play a pure thief or a pure mage. It's kind of stupid, in my opinion. The idea that there's like a trinity, that wasn't really introduced until Skyrim. Like, I never thought of Oblivion or Morrowind as having a warrior, a thief, and a mage. I thought of it as being a complex RPG system. I really think that Trinity should stick to MMOs. You got the tank, the DPS, and the healer, like World of Warcraft. It doesn't really belong in an Elder Scrolls game. So let's talk about different starting characters. The 2 characters you've seen me play either on stream or starting from the beginning is that Altmer Stealth Archer and Grandpa, who is a Nord warrior. And I wanted to show you some big differences. The Stealth Archer has 5 times the magicka as Grandpa at level 1. Grandpa's got way more health, over double the carry weight, and moves way slower. These are completely different experiences right out the gate. And as we gain levels, yeah, with either one, I'm going to gain endurance. But the Stealth Archer still has way more magicka, is way faster, because this Stealth Archer is going to have a much easier time using Feather, where Grandpa's going to struggle with it because of that limited magicka. And as he gets to be in Daedric armor, wielding a two-handed warhammer, he's got to do a lot of feather for it to not slow him down. And he's going to be putting less attributes into speed. Carry weight's going to start to even out, but my stealth archer is having a really hard time to raise strength because I'm using my bow. I'm not going to run up and punch things. So it might not even get up to 335 by level 20. That's me being very generous to myself. Where Grandpa is going to get to 100 very easily by level 20. And, you know, I wanted to even kind of highlight this with a little bit of video from some of my characters that I've shown in my videos. So this is my stealth archer. This does not play like Grandpa. This does not play like my mage. You know, I'm shooting it with a bow. It's a damage over time weapon, so I have to stop. It's slower paced. It's a different experience. And honestly, I want you to ask yourself, have you ever made a weapon that has a 3-second damage over time ability? Maybe, or sorry, I should say enchantment. So I have to wait after I shoot each guy with this character for 3 seconds. That's not the case on most characters. It is very different. Yes, I'm soul trapping, and you'll see me do that on Grandpa, but whatever. Next, I have my mage. This is, and it's not an archetype of a mage. It's not a pure mage wearing robes. He's wearing heavy armor. This character is in like Ebony and Daedric. I cast a ton of buffs. I have to pre-buff a lot, but I move really fast. I paralyze when I hit guys with my spells, and I never swing my weapon. I don't think in this whole thing you see me swing my weapon. I don't even know what weapon that is, to be honest. I shoot spells, weakness, paralyze, and I touch them for a bunch of damage. So that's a totally different playstyle, completely different experience. Early game, it was a completely different experience. Mid game, it was a completely different experience. And now that I have 100 of a bunch of skills, this character is just totally different. And Grandpa, if you watch me stream it all, Grandpa does not have a lot of magicka. He can't be soul trapping on target like the high elf archer. He's got to get up in there. And he does a lot of damage, especially right after this. I got a lot of fortified blunt, so I do a lot more damage in this. And with that enchant, he's doing a lot of damage. It's got fire damage on it, so that's not helping against the Atronach, but I'm two-shotting that scamp. He's very slow, very powerful. He's going to use Fortify Fatigue and Restore Fatigue later. It's a completely different experience. And I really want you to ask yourself, if you've watched any of these videos, or like even my Restoration Showcase, have you played like any of those characters? Have you ever played like this stealth archer? You know, I could show more. I don't really want to just like re-show my old video. Maybe you've still snuck around like him. Obviously, I'm wearing the ring of light for this so people can see. But as an apprentice, taking double damage from magic, I want to show you out of the sewer, this character would die to 32 frost damage. That's how much it would take to kill this character because of the apprentice birth sign. He's got 100% weakness to magicka and 25% weakness to each element, so he takes 2.5 times damage from spells. Where Grandpa is a Nord, he would need to take that much frost damage to die. So this, obviously not every enemy is shooting frost, but this is an example where it's over 8 times more effective health against frost enemies, just because I chose a different character. This is at startup. Oblivion really does have a ton of build diversity, a ton of different play styles. It is not perfect. Like I said, there are more ways that endurance should work. It shouldn't just be heavy armor, block, and armorer. I think there should be at least one more, but there isn't. And so, yeah, it's not a perfect system, but I love that they tried to make something whole and complex and interesting. You know, I did want to talk about my issue with a lot of games that aren't like Oblivion and don't have this in-depth leveling system, and where I think the Elder Scrolls 6 is going, is that they're very, very simple. You know, I love Diablo 2, and this is a cheat sheet that I used in Diablo 2. Not the first time I played, not the 10th time I played, maybe the 30th time I played. I tried a new character, and this cheat sheet gives you an insane amount of information, whether it's rune words, or like frame rate caps, or the sets, or unique items. It's just got an absurd amount of information. Experience needed per level. Oh, just a little cheat sheet. Faster cast rate breakpoints for different classes. Diablo 2 is an in-depth game. It's very deep. There's a lot of systems. There's a lot to know. Do you need to know all of this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I enjoy knowing more about a video game. I think it makes the game more fun. There is a limit to this though. And so before you comment like, "Oh, it's too complex," if I type in Feral Druid, Icy Veins, and we go to a guide here, I'll pull this one over. So this is what I used to play in Wrath of the Lich King. This is a ton of information. It's like reading a textbook. There's 6 things here. There's 3 things here. It's telling me how to do a DPS rotation to single target, how to do AoE, what my specific opener is for single target and AoE. There's all these different options. They tell you what's the best option. They tell you literally like in order what to hit as an opener. There's just like the best way to play. There's such an absurd amount of information. This is actually why I stopped playing WoW. It's too much. I don't want to learn all that, especially with each new patch, and even worse with each new expansion. It's too complex. There's too much to learn. Where I type in Feral Druid, Icy Veins, Wrath of the Lich King. Last time I played, I go to rotation. Here, I'll drag it over so we can see what I'm doing. I go to rotation and cooldown, and it all fits in one page. And this was considered complex back in the day. This was considered difficult when I played originally, not in classic Wrath of the Lich King, but in Wrath of the Lich King. And, I know it more in depth than this. It's a couple fights I parsed in like the 90s in ICC this last time around because I like to take games seriously. But you don't need to know all of this to get invited into a group where I guess all I really wanted to say with this World of Warcraft thing is that too much depth, too much complexity is a bad thing. It starts to feel like you're adding in more systems just for the sake of making the game more complicated. Where I think Oblivion is at a pretty good sweet spot. It's got a lot of depth. It's not totally too complicated. You can understand it. You can watch my videos if you want to understand more. There's other guides too. I really enjoy it. Obviously, anyone given these reasons can still dislike it. There's still lots of reasons that it's flawed, but I just had to come out and defend it. So thanks for watching.